we're going to look at 3 different replays at 3 different MMRs of people playing Ember Spirit. Now this first one is Hurled 5, and then we'll look at an Ancient player, and finally an Immortal. Now we're going to be focusing mainly on the first 20 minutes, but as you see this Ember Spirit, he's already pinging this Wind Ranger, asserting his dominance to ensure that he gets his mid lane. And he goes for a creep block here. He doesn't really get it, but he's seeing this Enchantress placing down a ward. You see his camera even moves up to see exactly where Enchantress went to place the Observer ward. So he's actually aware of this happening. It'll be interesting to see if he tries and dewards this. But straight away, even that he focused on harassing there in the first wave, he didn't get any last hits. And again, he's focusing so heavily on harassing here that he's not getting any last hits or denies. So Enchantress is a hero that can pretty much survive through this harass at the early points of the game because of her heal. But at the same time, Ember has bought a lot of regen to survive through like this harass that Enchantress can get back. Pretty much trading harasses his strat here. And quite impressive how he bought his own Sentry and Observer ward and denies the vision of the enemy. Like for Hurl, this is very unexpected thing to happen. And I think I don't even see like Crusader players do this very often. This is a very nice play of him. And he also denies this Invis rune, which is he can't really make any effect of it, and a good idea that he didn't go play aggressive here and went back and just plays defensively. Now the problem is he's low health here and they're just contesting these wards here, and at this point he has 3 last hits, but the problem is, right, every last hit he's got has been a ward that he killed, not a creep. He has not killed a creep yet. It's 3 minutes nearly now and he hasn't got 1 creep kill. And I think this is his first creep kill that was just there and like one of the melee creeps. So this Ember needs to focus a lot more on his last hitting in this game. As you see, it's not the fact that he's not able to last hit. As you'll see here, watch, he last hits under the tower. He's actually like pretty good at like doing last hitting. But the problem is he focused way too much on harassing throughout the lane. As you see here now, the Enchantress is going on playing aggressive. And the Bounty Hunter is here too. Now the Bounty Hunter has taken tower aggro here because of the fact that he started attacking under the tower range. He never de-aggroed either. I don't think he could have de-aggro because there was none of his own creeps under the tower. But Enchantress is coming back and contesting these wards that Ember had put down. So now Ember is like, team, I need a sentry mid or something. And playing against a Bounty Hunter, sentry mid is actually like quite good. But it will be interesting to see what happens as he buy like another sentry here. Oh, what's this? Nature's Prophet teleports in. And this just like amazing teamwork. Like I've never seen this even in my own matches. For this to happen at Hurled, it's quite impressive. So just because people are low ranked doesn't mean that they don't know how to work together. Now Enchantress has hit level 6 before the Ember here, and he does understand that like being further away from the impetus makes him like take more damage, so he is trying to stand pretty close to Enchantress, but he doesn't end up winning that. Like I don't think he can. He should have been a little bit more aware of like the level that Enchantress was on at that point, and focusing quite heavily on the vision here. And his vision's getting denied again, and he's buying his own sentry again. So this is quite a lot of gold that he's invested into just a sentry war back and forth. And he's coming top here at level 5. Manages to get a kill, which is pretty nice. But to a certain extent on this hero, you do really want to focus on getting your like gold for items, and also managing to get that important level 6, or even just like an extra point in Flame Guard or something like that. Levels and experience are really important on this hero. And he's now jungling. It's like 7 minutes into the game, and as a mid hero, this is not really what you want to be doing. And he's coming back to this lane here, trying to go on to Enchantress, probably the hardest one to kill here. Pretty stupid play overall, and he's probably like looking, oh, my team, where's my team? You could have teleported in, Nature's. And it's like you're kind of like playing aggressive when you're like behind on levels now, and the Enchantress is much stronger than you. Even though the Enchantress only has like 12 last hits, somehow the Embers managed to get more last hits than her in this game so far. So his strategy for playing here is just to play aggressive once he hits level 6 and go for kills. Now this is working here, and how he used his Searing Chains here was much better. If you looked at the laning stage, some of the times he was using his Searing Chains when there was a lot of units around, but here he's actually using his Searing Chains when there's only 2 units in range, so you have 100% guarantee that you're going to hit that line. So at the same time, he hasn't come back to his own middle lane. If he was playing against a hero that wasn't Enchantress or some other mid hero, they would have been pressuring his mid tower and probably taking it down by now. So he's bought like more tangos and a salve again, which it's kind of like a little bit obsessive here, and his progression towards like bigger items is not really going anywhere when you're buying so many of these items. He's also bought like the Tome of Knowledge, which is often like goes towards the support, and he's kind of taking and denying it away from his allies. So straight away he's going for like another kill here. He goes in this bounty hunter, which ends up getting away here. Is he going to buy back for this? No. Oh, he does. Oh, what a prediction. Oh, he's going for a kill here. Kind of unnecessary to use his like jump there, but he ends up getting like kill here. So that buyback was kind of like not like, he actually ended up being worth it, but now his death timer is much longer. It's like plus 25 seconds the next time he respawns. Oh, he's getting the Enchantress here. Does he have someone to back him up? Wind Ranger power shot, no mana, and he's not aware of his Wind Ranger having no mana. So that's kind of his strategy overall to try and get kills is just kind of very hot-headed, running at the enemy and like trying to just figure out like, can I just kill them if I have enough magic damage overall. So he's went to Ring of Health, which is go for his Battle Fury, and you'll see this Lion is on the high ground, and Lion can pretty easily just walk up to him and hex him there, but he never does. It could just start off an initiation. He won't even get a chance to use his Flame Guard if Lion uses his combo on him. Yet Lion doesn't have Finger yet, and this like position was actually quite bad. There was a long duration there which Lion could have initiated on him, and he's just here trying to help the Nature's Prophet push, and he's putting a Remnant back just so that he can jump to safety. And as the Enchantress is teleporting out, he cancels her teleport, and using the Sleight of Fist plus the Searing Chain, so he understands that you can combo those two together, which is a pretty like widely known thing. But if we talk a little bit about his item build here, the tangos is not that oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. He doesn't like look at Lion and care about Lion that much, and Lion's like literally the counter hero to him right now in this game. So this sniper is Guardian, very high skill player. And one tip that you want to see if you want to get out of Herald, if you're stuck here, watch this sniper. He quick buys his Dagon instead of a teleport. This is what a true player does. A true player quick buys the Dagon. You don't need no teleport. So there's some action that's going on bottom here, and Ember Spirit is very quick to react. Now teleporting here actually wastes the cooldown, and it was kind of unnecessary to rotate like that. Now he gets thrown out here and ends up surviving through it. He does get tracked, and he jumps away here with 2 jumps with 2 remnants, and I think he's actually aware of this track too. But oh, Nature's Prophet teleporting in with the salve. What is this? Teamwork, like Saving Private Ryan. This Nature's Prophet is like the teamwork god. I think this game, he deserves so many commends, this guy does. But this Ember Spirit is just like walking around the map aimlessly. Like even if he was dead there, the time that he would have respawned, like, or his death timer wouldn't have been that long. So it's like he hasn't made avail of like that save or surviving through it, and here he's just like kind of cheesing a little bit and trying to just do magic damage, and he's not really like accurately like focusing like one hero here. So 33 minutes into the game, the Ember has now finished his Battle Fury, and he hasn't really done anything useful in this past like 10-12 minutes, because he's literally been sitting in the mid lane or else into the jungle to farm creeps, and even at that his farming is really slow. He doesn't spend time ever attending to any of the other side lanes, and that's what like this hero's really strong at, is like split pushing and then escaping with your Fire Remnant. Now also, if you notice, the enemy team has a really good draft for like pick-offs when people are sitting in the jungle like this, and if you're not pressuring other lanes, they can just go into your jungle and like pick you off pretty easily. And the Coinx is a much higher level 22, and the Ember Spirit is only level 16, so there's a big like level out difference. You see the Enchantress is level 23, and they pretty much end up losing this game just because of how far behind on network and experience this Ember is. Like maybe like it wasn't a perfect game for Ember or whatever, but still there's a huge space for improvement on this like hurled player. Now we're looking at a Legend 5 Ember Spirit, and as you see this time he's blocking the creeps much better, and to a certain extent even blocking too good. He lets the range creep go in front, however the enemy creeps are now going to start under his own tower. This essentially makes his own creep wave push, and the first wave is not very favorable, and he also has to try and last hit under his own tower. The idea of like blocking is that you stop the creep somewhere along your own stairs. This makes people miss up high ground, have to commit a further position if they're a melee hero in this scenario. But Kunkka is a hero that has very good creep wave clear with his cleave, and it means that he can not only do a lot of harass, but the blocking at the start doesn't make a huge amount of difference in this lane. If we talk about his regen here, he's like he only got a fairy fire and a salve, and he had to fly the salve out at the start. His supports give him no tangos, and he probably should have adapted to this and bought tangos himself at the start of the game rather than relying on the strategy phase. Typically you can tell if the supports are going to give you regen based on like what happens in the strategy phase, which is like before the game starts you buy your items. But his last hits in comparison to the last Ember Spirit is significantly better. He's already at 10-11 last hits now, and his last hits in the first 2 to 3 minutes were really good, but as you see later on, the first 10 minutes or so, he ends up doing like from about 5 to 10 minutes he ends up last hitting quite poorly. You'll see now he'll try and harass the Kunkka here now while last hitting the creep wave. So he's harassing here with Flame Guard, but Flame Guard does not block the cleave damage from Kunkka's cleave, and even misses the spell there of Searing Chains, which is like a very bad usage of it. 110 mana is a lot when your own mana pool is less than 400, so you're using like 25% of your mana pool for a spell that never even did damage to the enemy. So here he's forced to go for this rune because of his item build, and he even takes some more harass here. He used the illusion rune, it's pretty useless rune here. He's taking lots of harass and even forces the support to teleport in to save him. And there's an enemy support here as well. And this is making, you see there, he missed his range creep because of that. And this is where he's sitting in lane with low health. If he had bought more like health regen, he wouldn't be standing in this position where he's very far back and he could stand up and keep staying the creep wave. He probably needs to keep buying more regen, and that like trade back that the Kunkka did while going for the rune ended up being really impactful here. And you see he's not even trying to contest the creeps, and he's going as far as to let's go get a bounty rune. He's actually lost a lot of experience doing this, and he's only about halfway through level 5. If he got this creep wave, maybe he might just about get level 6. Instead, he's actually, the support is rotating in here, the Shadow Shaman, which ends up being just enough here to make it harder for him to reach level 6. So this stalling not only allows like Kunkka to do whatever he wants in lane, but it also makes it much harder for Ember to do anything. So playing aggressive here isn't really useful. Ember Spirit doesn't have any mana, and he's just going to take health to harass for this. He has bought tangos here, and he could utilize that iron branch as well. Now this is the first time he's deciding to use a shrine. There's 2 shrines available for nearly 2 minutes now, and this is the first time his team have used a shrine, and he has reached level 6 at the same time. So using that shrine that's usually there for the offlaner, he should have probably used it in that scenario, even though it's greedy. You see a lot of players are sometimes a little bit too kind and forgiving and they don't want to use the shrine. He also like misses his mistimes that, so you need to wait for the X to happen before you jump. There's like a small window. If he doesn't time the torrent, like the X torrent perfectly on Kunkka, and he takes like a cleave harass there as well, and this is all extra harass that like he's not necessarily needing to take, and he's in under his own tower, not even in experience range of the creeps, and this is what's making him fall behind. And Kunkka is getting further and further ahead on last hits, and this harass that Kunkka is doing is making a huge impact here. And even like stuff like the mana there, he wasted about like 15 seconds waiting for his mana to get back up to 75 to teleport back to the fountain, and he's getting gone on here by the, okay, they're not going him, but a nice turnaround here and getting a kill onto the Shadow Shaman because he took tower hits. Now at this point, Ember, if he had like like more mana or any items. Like he doesn't have boots to chase down people, like even just boots of speed. So it's like 1.5 levels that Kunkka is ahead of him by. And if you look at the overall net worth here, Kunkka can't get his combo hit here, but the Kunkka is like 4k net worth and Ember's 2.9. So there's like a 1k net worth in different, and that's a pretty substantial difference. And if you go a little bit further here now, Ember's going back into the jungle, not pressuring the Kunkka, and Kunkka ends up being one of the higher impact players on his team, and pretty much the carrying, like Kunkka was carrying his team this game, and a lot of it is like the laning stage acts as like a catalyst to allow him to play a lot better in this scenario. But Ember just like loses his tower, he hasn't ganked the lane, he's only just got his phase boots now, and everything is a little bit like slower than what you would ideally want on this hero. So now Ember is going around the jungle. He's full health and mana, but decides to walk back to the fountain. This is really inefficient here, and all he's doing is going back to the fountain, fill his bottle up, right, and buy one of these bad boys for his drums, the crown. But he decides he wants to go and fight. He needs to start getting active. It's 12 minutes now, which is pretty late. He reacts pretty quickly and uses a sleight of fist on the Shadow Shaman and tries to chase him down, but ends up getting comboed here. Now, if his tier 1 tower was not, like on mid lane, was not destroyed, it would have been much harder for Shadow Shaman to get a kill there. But also, he would have had a better position to teleport into. And even if we look at the free camera now, you can see that there's a ward here that Shadow Shaman has placed down at this position. So this gives some really good vision and allows Kunkka to keep pressuring up further. But even if you had vision down here, it would have prevented the Ember Spirit from dying, even buying his own observer wards. But the fact that the Ember is kind of just like behind on items is what's causing him to like not be able to purchase, like have the goal to purchase extra like stuff like observer wards. So now just after respawning, he comes down here and tries and go on the puck, and he ends up dodging the like Dream Coil, probably by like luck and chance. But he ends up using a remnant, his last remnant there, that jump only a really small distance, which was unnecessary. And he's also ran out of mana, so chasing down that puck was a really bad choice there, how he did it, like how he utilized his mana. And the puck is after jumping into a Ravage, and they end up like turning this around here pretty nice. And a lot of that was just a really good usage of Ravage there, and kind of like the enemy tripping up under their own like legs. So Ember's been involved in very little kills at this point, and he hasn't really gone to try and help like his safe lane at any point. But either way, if we have a look at the net worth, Kunkka is really far on top, and a lot of it is just because of how easy he got in lane, but also kind of like after the laning stage, from about like 8 to 15 minutes, Kunkka has just been pushing this mid lane tower really far up. And overall with kills as well, like Kunkka only has 2 kills and 0 deaths, and Ember is like a little bit more active than that, but it's still, there's a vast like ability to improve on your activeness throughout this match. But the net worth is something that's pretty substantially different at this point. So Ember has just been farming here for the past like couple of minutes or so, and he's probably looking for a fight with this arcane rune. He's been looking for some kills here and there, but he doesn't move his camera around a lot. He's probably looking at the mini map and seeing what activities there. So he ends up seeing that the Morphline's coming bottom now, and tries to jump. Very bad prediction here. Uses 2 remnants. So that's like most of his mana pool at this point is gone down, and he never used the arcane rune. My god. So now he's using it after he uses all his spells. Oh yeah, anyways, he like gets through here and he just runs down this Shadow Shaman. And he even manages to find a puck here. So using the sleight of fist with the searing chains there worked out pretty well for him there. But he's also expended a lot of bottle charges. He's pretty inefficient to how he uses this bottle, and he relies a little bit too heavily on like how many charges he has currently right now. And he could be doing stuff like buying clarities and using them while he's passively farming, seeing as he isn't getting involved in so many fights. So now I'm going to skip on a little bit further until around 34 minutes or so. And what I wanted to highlight here was that he picks up a Black King bar, and this was one of the best choices of items that he did in this game, like easily. So he spent a lot of time in the past 15 minutes farming up with this Maelstrom that he picked up, and this BKB is really good in this match because you're playing against 2 magical burst damage heroes, Kunkka and the Morphling. So now it's 48 minutes into the game, and they're taking the next Roshan, and this BKB is what's allowed them to elongate the game further, so that allows them to get the next Roshan and gives them the upper hand going into the next fight, which actually ends up being the most important fight of the entire match. So he throws down a Remnant here. Note how he can now jump back and go defensively. It's maybe not the best position for a Remnant, but here you'll notice that the enemy can initiate at any point here, and they have to counter initiate this Tidehunter's Ravage. So at this position here, Ember Spirit is standing in a really bad position right beside the PA, and any sort of abilities that have an AoE that can combo both of them can pretty much hit both of them. And his A and this goes off straight away. And I want to play this in slow-mo because it's like important to see this thing, and it happens really quickly. So now he's standing aimlessly on the high ground for about 3 to 4 seconds, not really doing anything. He's obviously trying to hit the building, but all 3 heroes are now standing right beside each other. They get hit by the silence AoE from Puck and the Ghost Ship, and the PA is disabled, and the Ember Spirit just presses his BKB before he dies, and he had a Remnant that he could have jumped back to, and Remnant has like no cast time, so you can use that instantly. If he jumped back to the Remnant there, he had survived, but he didn't do it, and the BKB usage was not that great. But even the fact that like what was happening, it's not about like how he used his BKB there, but it's the fact that he just allowed his A and this to get instantly triggered, no problem, and then he also was in a really bad position for like much more time after that. So there's nearly like a full like 5 to 10 seconds up where he's just totally out of position, and off of that, guess what happens? The enemy team just push and win the game because you have no buyback, you're just after using it, and you can never rely in this bracket for your teammates to save for buyback. Unfortunately, the PA needed like 150 gold for buyback and she never bought it, and they end up losing this match because of like that play in particular. Now we're looking at rank 360 Ember Spirit, like Immortal rank, and for consistency we got another mid lane on Dire side. So again, he very similar to last time, he blocks too good, so now he has to last it under his own tower, but he lasts it pretty well here and gets 3 of them in the first one, even gets a deny here. And what's very distinctly different you'll end up seeing is the amount of last hits he ends up getting. Even though he misses a lot of last hits in like this match in the first 10 minutes, he gets pretty much like double the last hits of the last Ember Spirit. So now Pangolier is missing out the lane. He's after like last hitting 2 creeps. He checks like the jungle, seeing that the Enigma is jungling and the Pango is probably stacking or something, and he gets something like similarly right. The Pango went off and picked up an arcane rune and his bottle usage there. So this bottle is now down to 2 charges and he's half HP. So the harass is pretty good here, and Ember Spirit is not taking a huge amount of harass back, yet there is now this kind of contesting of like the bottles now with the bounty runes as well, which become like quite important. So that if the Enigma can't get, well, if the Ember can get like the bounty runes, it's pretty good. But even punishing this Enigma here, helping the support to get a kill here, this is like already really active. But if we look at the network now, Ember Spirit is at 2,600 and the previous Ember got to 2,800 at, what was it, like 10 minutes. So he pretty much has like double the network, or like roughly, so like 90% more efficient in terms of like network gain. So straight away you see the Ember is like playing aggressive here with his Flame Guard, and this is a really nice play. He uses his Sleight of Fist here and dodges the last instance of Pangolier's ulti, and this allows him just enough health to escape. Like that extra instance of damage would have killed him there. And the fact that now the Enigma and Pangolier has to commit so many spells and also so much time to just trying to get this kill, and the fact that they don't secure it, this ends up being really like a massive impact at this bracket. Even at like Ancient and stuff like in Legend take advantage of it too, but not as much. But here, like matches that are happening like so fast, and like early mistakes and time wasted, they're pretty much like big opportunity costs that if you decide to go for one opportunity, it doesn't succeed, that you're literally losing out somewhere else in a future opportunity that'll happen because you have to like get your mana to regen back up. So now the Ember Spirit has the Invis rune that he's just after picking up, and he's going into the like his own jungle because the offlaners were pushing top lane. They end up finding Drow, which is probably like the really good initiation of finding and catching this drow out of position. And they really wanted to like have Tidehunter in front, but that didn't end up happening, because if you look, they can't even kill Tidehunter. He's just standing there and they can't kill him. So it's like they just let Tidehunter run away because he just is too tanky at this point in the game. He's at a peak point. But Ember Spirit, you'll end up seeing much better utilizing these runes. He's picked up like double the amount of runes that the previous Ember picked up at this point into the game. So now he's been looking bottom with his camera here before he teleported. So he's being active and using his teleports to like go and get kills in other places. And he also is looking like actually moving his camera to the position he wants to go to before he teleports to ensure like he knows what's going on. Ends up like really easily just walking down drought. There's no skill really involved in that. It's just really good positioning and very good utilizing of his cooldown of his teleport, which the previous Ember, like, he didn't do that at all. He was just teleporting back to the fountain. So now Ember is just heading top lane, and he threw a remnant back just before he walked up high ground. And going into the like fog like this, he ends up just getting crowd control down, and he uses his stick and then uses sleight of fist, and it allows him to survive here. Now he did commit a little bit too far here and got silenced by Drow again on the high ground. That's kind of like a little bit of a silly mistake in a solo play there, much like walking up into the like high ground twice in a row. He could have got away just after the black hole, but committing a little bit too far. But they are like doing pretty well. And if we look at like the draft overall, the Ember has a pretty big advantage in this type of game, because the Drow Ranger doesn't have like a magical burst damage to like break his flame guard, and you have to rely on something else. So this way, like, he can just run down the Drow, and even like drafted like 9th pick or whatever. So, and Tidehunter was 10th pick. So the last big Tidehunter. But these kind of drafting things do make a big impact at this bracket, and you see like he's picking up every power rune nearly. And Tidehunter's like trying to pressure like mid lane. And as you see last time, the Ember let his mid tower die pretty easily. This Ember's not letting his tower die all so easily here. And they end up bringing Enigma mid. And he really makes the enemy have to work for this tower to get it. This Yule's build ends up being like really good as well. Because Drow, like, her only way of like dealing with Ember is just to like silence him. So if you Yules, you can either dodge the silence and the knockback from the gush or the gust, and then you can also like dispel the silence. But he didn't use his Yules here, but the Oracle's there to save him, and you see this draft is like really strong against him, and the Ember Spirit's like back to full health. But this is like by far the most impressive play that I've seen this whole replay. So here the Darkseer is comboed really well, and he pulled one hero like the Grimstruck or whatever back behind the Earthshaker's Fisher. But here you see the Enigma is coming in for a black hole, and the Ember Spirit walks upwards into the trees, and by doing this it gives him enough time now to use his Yules to like cancel the black hole, which pretty much like and now he's getting like a stun onto 2 heroes or a root with the Searing Chain. So this is like massive, and just turning around and getting maximum damage output as well here with using like the Spirit to jump to as well. So like these are like game-winning plays. Like this is what's gonna like bring them further ahead. It's a full team wipe, like 5 heroes for 1. It's unbelievable, like that type of play. The Ember Spirit is like split pushing bottom, and you'll end up seeing that like this farming is really good in this position. His supports are behind him, which can save him, but also his heroes really hard to catch, and the enemy don't have really good catch either. So the previous Ember, he was farming on mid lane a lot, and this Ember is farming a lot more on bottom, and by doing this it allows him to waste the enemy's time. Here's a really good example of using the Yules to dispel the silence from Gust, and then even here the like Tidehunters using spells, they're wasting so much time trying to clear the creep waves on bottom that what's going on top, like they're not able to respond to it as easily, or else that they're being occupied by the Ember bottom. They get this tower, and like on mid lane, look, they lose another tower. So this time wasting that he's doing on bottom, like wasting the enemy's time, is really impactful, and the players at this rank are utilizing it very well. And again, dispelling the silence with the Yules, and back with the Ravage here. But the Drow is just going to get like focused down and run down by this Ember pretty easily. and this ends up like pretty much like snowballing their whole team into the game, and by bringing them like further ahead on levels and experience, so that's pretty much what they end up losing to as well. And this Pangolier hasn't really achieved much this game. This Ember overall has spent a lot less time farming, and he's been involved in about double the amount of kills the last Ember did. And overall you end up seeing that even stuff that's not kills or last hits, just the fact that the place that he's farming, the pressure that he's putting on lanes and wasting the enemy's time, this is enough time to allow the enemy to like come back into the game. He throws a remnant down here just before the start of the fight, and he ends up like being able to, oh, he gets stunned here by the Pango. Oh, the black hole, is it coming in here now? And oh, the black hole, he's not going to die though because the Oracle is saving him, and he has pipe on him as well, and he jumps back out, just survive. Whoa. But and instantly going back to the fountain to heal up, so very quick to heal back up, and even buys a salve for fast regen here. But this is like really efficient overall, like how he regens back up. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more Dota content like this, make sure you subscribe, and if you have any replays of your own, make sure to like leave them down in the comments or something.